Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Rachel French, and I'm going to talk you through our consolidation process using an interactive story map. You can find this on our website, austinisd.org/consolidate. And I'll go through and explain why we're considering consolidations, how we're making these decisions, and what to expect next. So you'll first click on this story map link. And I'll go through this at a pretty high level, and then just really giving y'all some wayfinding, and then I'll dive into the rubric itself. So what are school consolidations? So this is the merging of one or more campuses. And this will, yes, entail school closures, but we're also being more comprehensive. We'll look at boundaries, transfer policies, program realignments. And it's important that we look at these as a whole and be comprehensive. And it's also really important just take a step back and remind everyone that the end goal is not closing schools. The end goal is better resourcing our schools, and we'll be more successful at doing so when we have fewer of them. And this is really making a choice before making any more substantial cuts at the campus level to our programming. And so why we're looking at this also, and why we have the opportunity, I guess, is that we have lost over 10,000 students over the past 10 years, leaving us with 21,000 empty seats across the district. And this chart really shows that when this trend continues, we're anticipated to only have 76% total of our seats filled in 26-27 school year. And this is below our ideal range of 85 to 90% across the district. And so when you have an under-enrolled school, it is difficult to allocate resources, hire and retain staff, and offer the full range of academic services. Consolidation is going to allow us to use our funding more effectively and better serve all students. The decision-making tool that I'll be talking through consists of two parts. And so the first is the data rubric. And this will provide every school a score, and it's based on building usage, its condition, its costs. And I want to reiterate, and you'll hear me say this multiple times, that this is not a closure list. It is really helping us identify schools that have challenges. They might cost a lot to run or be very empty. And there are a variety of ways in which we can address that concern and address that misalignment. In part two, that's where we're going to add that human-centered data. We'll look at student demographics, school programs, community history, and we will use both parts together to guide fair and informed decision-making, and we're going to be very transparent about that process. I'm going to briefly go through all the different data points. So there are 5 different weighted factors. There's utilization, which is really how full or empty a school is. And before I dive in, I just want to show you that you can click all these links, and it's going to bring up more definitions, and you can read deeper into all our different data points. So first is utilization. So this is 35% of the total score, and it's how full or empty the school is. You can see here a map of that across the district. We also look at cost per student in terms of building operations. This is 25% of the total score. We look at facility condition. This is 20% of the total score, and this is really what is the physical shape of the building. And then we look at cost per student from an instructional educational cost lens and how much goes into the teaching and learning on that campus. And then we look at educational suitability, which is really how well the building supports 21st century learning, and this is 5% of our score. So all of these metrics are combined into a base score, and then we adjust it using the support and resource index. And this really considers student need. And this ensures that schools that serve higher need populations aren't unfairly penalized, and we're able to really ensure that the burden of change is not substantially on these communities. And so we want to reduce that as much as possible. And a higher score at the end of all of this just really indicates that there's a mismatch between the school size, number of students, building condition, cost. Again, it doesn't mean closure. That is one of the options, but it also means that we're just going to do a closer review and really understand how to make this campus better aligned and serve students across the district in a more balanced way, whether through boundary changes, enrollment caps, looking at program locations, and all of those different strategies we've been discussing. I'll now talk through our next part. You'll see some guiding principles here that are really helpful to scroll and look through. But when you scroll down here, you'll see more information about our contextual analysis. So again, this is where we're going to look at each school's unique story. We'll look at the student population, the academic programs, transportation, history, feeder patterns, future growth. And this is really ensuring our decisions are comprehensive and reflect as much as possible the lived experiences and the impact that our changes might have on a school community. I'm now going to scroll through some frequently asked questions. These are really just going to highlight a little bit of how we'll be analyzing the data. And so when we'll look at specifically how full or empty the school is, as I've been through, but what is helpful to look at here is just giving us a little bit of logic into those strategies and what we would consider that are specifically linked to fixing an enrollment misalignment. So that's really what this section is. And we'll also talk about building condition, and you can dive in and again, click on all these links to learn more about how we're looking at that. And you can also see that we will be looking at school programming. And so this includes Montessori, dual language, IB, application-based programs. We have many, many programs across the district, and we have to make sure that they are supporting students as they're intended, and really just be able to think critically about how they're serving our district. And so part of what to expect in October is really indicating what to expect in terms of any changes regarding programming as part of this process. All right, the next step is really going to be to look at the tool. Before I hop into that, let me just at least go ahead and let you know where we're at. So if you want to tune out, you don't want to go into spreadsheet land, you can at least see where we are at on the process. So we are right now looking through all this data in that contextual analysis part of the process. And so you can expect in October is when you'd actually see the draft plan. And this is when we're going to tell the community our proposals for closures, boundary shifts, program reallocations, and that will be shared on October 9th to the Board of Trustees, and they are planned to vote on November 20th. And if approved, all these changes would go into effect beginning in the 2026-2027 school year. Let's hop into the spreadsheet for those that want to dive more deep into the rubric. So there were different points throughout this that say to view the raw data. Click here, click there. There was also a link on our main landing page to go straight to the data rubric. So in this, you'll see there's a rubric guide, which is pretty much what I've already went through on the story map. But I'm just going to talk you through the important columns that you need to look at. So schools are here. They are sorted from the highest to lowest score. That is our starting point. But again, remember, it's not a closure list. It's also important to highlight that whenever we look at a campus, we will also look at all the campuses that surround it, as well as all the campuses in its feeder pattern. Each campus has an indicator here. If there's ever a 4 or a 5 score, it would show up here as just really highlighting for you all and for us, what are the things we need to understand or fix. It also pulls from column U over here, which this is going to be where it says school zone is too empty. There are some that also say school zone is too full. And this is really looking at how full or empty a school would be based on who is zoned there, not enrolled. And again, this doesn't drive the actual score, but it is a very important contextual element as we identify the specific strategies that would be most helpful. And so looking through this, what you just need to know is that these different column sections align to the different data points that you can learn much more about in the story map. I do also want to highlight this bond project status column. This only highlights campuses with fuller phase modernizations or large open plan redesigns. We have some elementary schools that have that happening this bond. And so that is where we're indicating where they are in that construction process. Every single school is getting bond work. And so in the contextual analysis, we will dive deeper into that and really understand the scope. But for these really big projects, it's very important for us to know at a high level where it's at, because there are some that are just getting started, some that haven't started at all yet. And there are definitely some that have the construction is beyond the stopping point. And so while we can think maybe differently about what happens in the building, we will be continuing that construction process. So again, thank you for listening today. You can view all of this again on our Consolidate website. We know these are difficult conversations, but by working together and being transparent, we are going to make decisions that support students today and well into the future. So thank you for watching, and thank you for your time.